Hi, we'd like to welcome you to AdvancedMD's webinar today. We're going to be focusing on MACRA MIPS, the highlights for year 2 or 2018. Just to let you know who you are listening to, my name is Liz Smiley. I'm a professional services consultant here at AdvancedMD. I've been in the industry for a long time and with AdvancedMD since 2005. Currently, I work in professional services with special interest in MACRA MIPS, so that's why they've asked me to present this today. And really quick before we get into the meat and potatoes, some webinar etiquette. Please, if you have questions, go ahead and send those to the moderator. Today I have a couple people helping to moderate the questions that are received, and we will try and answer as many as we can. But there's an awful lot of you in the room today, so we may not get to all of your questions during the webinar. But please send your questions in, and to do that, you're going to click on this little orange arrow over in your webinar toolbar. Click on that. That opens up the questions box. You can type in your question here and then click send, and we'll get that question. Throughout the webinar today, I'm actually going to ask you some questions to answer, so you'll use that same process to submit that. And those are things that will help me to better understand the audience that's here attending the webinar. Thank you so much for coming today. I have spent a lot of time researching the 2018 final rule and have spent hours and hours learning about MIPS in 2017 and before that, meaningful use. So this has been my world for a while. So I'm excited to share with you the things that I've learned. And as we get started, just know that 2018 was a little scary when I started to research it, but I think you'll find that it really is not that scary. And there's not too many changes that are huge impacts, but there are a few that you need to be aware of, and the sooner that you learn, the better you'll be. So let's go ahead and talk about a few definitions. I will use some acronyms, so just to make sure that we all know what I'm talking about. MACRA is, of course, the Medicare Access and CHIP Reauthorization Act of 2015. QPP is the Quality Payment Program. And I will use QPP more than I will say quality payment program. So I want to make sure that you know what I'm talking about there. The focus of today, we know that MACRA has 2 parts to it. It has the APMs track and it has the MIPS track. Our focus today is the MIPS track, and MIPS is that merit-based incentive payment program. We'll talk a lot about the ACI, which is the Advancing Care Information, or how well you're using your EHR. We have the IA, which is the improvement activities category. And then another thing is small practice. There's a lot of benefits or bonuses available, a lot of resources available for small practices. So when I say small practice, according to CMS, that's 15 or fewer clinicians. All right, so another thing that I would like you to do is go ahead and practice submitting a question to me. And I would like to know how many of you are in a small practice. So click that little arrow in your toolbar and use the question box and let me know if you are part of a small practice as defined by CMS. And that will help me to know how much time to devote to going into a little more detail about the small practice benefits in 2018. So I'll give you a couple seconds to get that sent over to us. Thank you. Fabulous. All right. Okay, so we're going to go from here out to the details. We're going to start with a couple of slides that will give you kind of a comparison between 2017 and 2018. So who can participate? Basically the same group that could participate during 2017. So we've got the physicians, the PAs, NPs, clinical nurse specialists, CRNAs, and you need to not be in your first year with Medicare. The exemptions, this is where we were expecting some changes for 2018, and the final rule tells us in 2017 it was 30,000 or more in Medicare allowable charges, 30,000 or more, or you could, you needed to have at least 100 or more Medicare Part B beneficiaries. For 2018, they have bumped that up quite a bit, so it's now 90,000 or more in Medicare allowable charges. Or it's 200 or more Medicare Part B beneficiaries. This might change your participation status. So we're assuming, we don't know for sure, but we're assuming that Medicare will have a similar function that they've had on their QPP website. They've had that place where you can put in your NPI and it will tell you if you meet the exemptions for low volume thresholds, if you are expected to participate in MIPS or not. So once 2018 comes, I would go to the QPP website. If you're not sure if you're close, and it could be, then I would go ahead and go to the QPP website and put in your NPI and see what it tells you, because they will give lots of details there. The health IT software requirements are exactly the same as they've been for 2017. So you need to use a software that is 2014 or 2015 or 2014/2015 combo certified. All right. So biggest changes there is the 90,000 or more in allowable charges, and you have to have 200 or more Medicare Part B beneficiaries. Some other things that are big changes between 2017 and 2018. As you know, 2017, you only needed to have 3 points to avoid a negative, and that would impact your payments in 2019 by -4% to +4.5%. In 2018, they had what they called a moderate increase, which is going from 3 points to 15 points. So you are going to need to earn 15 points to avoid a negative in 2018. Not as scary as it sounds. You can totally do this. And that will affect your score. The 15 points, you need to have at least 15 to avoid the negative, and that negative could be up to 5% negative. But we're going to show you today how you can get some positives, so hopefully you'll get way more than 15 points, and you would be able to earn up to 5.5% positive payment adjustment, which is where we all would like to be, is in the positive adjustment territory. Some of you are probably attending and you're thinking that you just want to avoid the negative, and that's okay too. So if you're in that mindset, then you'll need at least 15 points in 2018. In the performance quality category, we had 3 categories that made up your score. They were really looking at 4 categories in 2017. So quality for 2017 is 60%. For 2018, it's going to be 50% of your score. The ACI and the IA didn't change. Their ACI is 25% in 2017, 25% in 2018. The improvement activities makes up 15% of your final score for 2017, 15% of your score 2018. Cost is something that CMS figures out, and we'll talk about details of that in a minute. But cost is something that CMS figures out for you, and they've looked at it in 2017, and you'll get feedback about it probably mid-year 2018 once they've crunched everybody's numbers. But it was 0% of your score for 2017. So some materials you'll see out there that it mentions it, other materials out there don't mention it because it isn't officially part of your score, but CMS is taking a look at it for you for 2017. In 2018, it is going to be 10% of your final score. It is not something that you will be calculating. CMS will take everything that you submit to them and they'll crunch the numbers. And like I said, we'll talk about that in a little more detail in just a minute. The performance period is another big change between 2017 and 2018. So 2017, transition year, you could test and do just one item or the base for ACI. You could choose to participate in a partial way, and that would be 90 days to almost a year, or you could do the full year of 365 days. Cost is being looked at the full year. They're looking at the full 12 months for your cost, and again, CMS figures that out. 2018, big differences. So please be aware, quality for 2018, 12 months, which means it starts January in just a few weeks. So please be aware, quality for 2018 is the full year. ACI is anywhere between 90 days and 365 days, or so 90 days to a year. Improvement activities, it depends on the activity, but they're wanting 90 days to a year. And so you'll want to look at the specific improvement activities you're doing, and we'll again talk about that in a minute. Cost is 12 months. So quality you'll need to be starting in January if you haven't started that yet. This one really had me excited about the bonuses that I found as I was reading through the final rule. So 2017, we had bonuses available in ACI and the quality categories. And those bonuses are also available in 2018, but they've added a bunch. So small practice. So in your head, I want you to think, what's a small practice? 15 or fewer clinicians. There is actually a bonus for participation. So they are rewarding you as a small practice. If you choose to participate, you have a bonus available to you as long as you've participated in at least one of these other categories, which is cool. There's also a bonus for those who are treating complex patients. And we'll be talking a little bit about that, but it's basically those people who are officially noted as complex patients based on their criteria of the conditions that they have, as well as some other things that Medicare takes into account. There's also a bonus that is possible if you improve in your quality measures. So if you report on the same quality measures 2017 to 2018, they're going to take a look at that and they will number crunch and decide if you have improved enough to earn a bonus there. Same with improvement in cost measures in the cost category. So lots of changes, but not too many. Just a few that are big, but for the most part, they're pretty positive changes. A lot more opportunities to earn more points, which is great, I think. All right, so looking at this in a visual, because some of us are visual learners, so wanted to make sure that we kind of pare it down, and a lot of these things we're going to go over multiple times because I want you to feel more comfortable with MIPS 2018 at the end of this than you felt at the beginning of this. So we're going to go over a few things multiple times. So for 2018, quality is going to be 50% of your final score. ACI is going to be 25% of your final score. Improvement activities is 15% of your final score. And cost is 10% of your final score. They've also created new bonuses, and these bonuses are added to your entire final score, and you can earn up to 21% bonuses. So if you're thinking that the 15 points that they're now going to require for you to have to avoid that negative, if you're thinking that that's out of reach, hopefully by the end of this webinar today, you are not going to be feeling that way. It is possible for you to definitely avoid the negative and probably find yourself not here, definitely not in the negative, not in the neutral, but we're hoping that you'll be able to do what you need to do to be in these green areas and get some money back from Medicare. Yay! All right, so let's dive into the details of each of the categories. We're going to start with quality. So in quality, there are some changes. Before we get started, I would love to know, each of you, to take a second, click on the little arrow, open up the question box, and if you would let me know for 2017, so the current year that we're in, how many quality measures are you doing for 2017, and what submission method are you using for those? If you'll take a second and just fill that out for me, that will help me to know what kind of details I can go into here and during our question answers part that we're having at the end of the webinar. All right, so getting into the details of the quality category. Again, it's 12 months. They want 12 months of data to be collected for those quality measures. It is 50% of your final score. So the same as it was in 2017, they are wanting you to do 6 quality measures. 6 quality measures. And of those 6 quality measures, at least one needs to be an outcome measure. If an outcome measure is not available, then a high priority measure could be used instead. If you are a specialist office and you have a hard time coming up with an outcome measure, just be sure, in case you were ever audited, that you document well why you didn't think any of the outcome measures applied to you. That would probably help you in an auditing situation. But just make sure that you are choosing 6. At least one of them is an outcome. And in 2017 and 2018, they are asking that you use the same submission method for all of your quality measures. That will hopefully be changing in 2019, but for 2017 and 2018, they're asking that all of your quality measures are submitted the same way. So claims-based or with an EHR, using a registry, doing that. You will earn points. So every quality measure, as you can see, has 1 to 10 points possible. And the way that that works, just an overview, high-level overview. We'll have additional webinars where we get into the meat and potatoes and the weeds of all of these. But for now, just know that each quality they're going to look at, and for you to know where you are between the 1 and the 10 in each quality, you'll be scored against benchmarks that they've established. And so you'll take your performance score, how did you do, your numerator, your denominator, how did you do, and you'll compare that with some benchmarks. They're also looking at what they call data completeness. So a quick explanation of data completeness would be, how many patients do you have that fit the criteria for that quality? So if we were to be looking at a BMI measure, for example, maybe it has an age range that you need to be looking at. Maybe it has specific diagnosis codes or CPT codes that are supposed to happen. All of those different criteria that are mentioned in the specifications for the quality measures. And it's saying, okay, of everybody that you should be gathering data on, your data completeness is, did you get data scored and turned in on at least 60% of those people? So that's data completeness. How complete is the data that you're turning in? And for 2017, of course, you needed 50% data completeness. And for 2018, they've bumped that up to 60% data completeness. If you don't have data completeness, that's where the 1 point comes in. So they're saying, if you tried and you just didn't get enough data, you didn't collect it on enough of your patients, you didn't turn it in on enough of your patients, we'll give you 1 point for trying. And yay, small practices, you get 3 points for trying. Even if you don't have data completeness, you will get 3 points. Now, all of the benchmarks, if you do have data completeness, then your benchmarks for your qualities are somewhere between 3 points and 10 points, depending on how well you did with completing whatever task or data gathering or whatever it is that the quality measure is measuring. How well you did with that, you'll earn 3 to 10 points per measure, depending on your data completeness. Again, if you don't get data completeness, it's 1 point for larger offices. Small practices, you'll get 3 points for trying. There are bonus measures available up to 10% in your quality measures. With the bonuses in quality, it is you get it for turning in information on additional high priority outcome patient experience measures. So we'd suggest you choose more than 6, because you never know. Maybe you think you're going to be doing something a lot, but then when you look at your numbers, you really aren't doing as much of it as you thought you were. So if you choose more than 6, then you have a better chance of reaching data completeness. You also can have up to 10% with EHR reporting as a bonus. So the total for quality, 6 quality measures at least, 6 quality measures, and the total possible points that you can get with your 6 quality measures, whatever bonuses you earn, it's up to 60 points possible. So the 60 points is exactly the same as it's been in 2017. All right, we are going to go next to a high-level overview of Advanced Care Information, or ACI. With the ACI, not a lot of changes, but the changes that they made I think are exciting, and they are really, really happy. So another question for you to answer: have you successfully completed the base for ACI already for 2017? So as we're going through this particular screen, have you completed your security risk analysis? Have you sent or received one health information exchange, one clinical exchange of information between you and another provider? Have you been able to do that? Have you prescribed at least one prescription electronically or qualified for the exclusion on that one because you don't electronically prescribe? And do your patients have access to information through a patient portal? Those 4 are required just like they were required in 2017. You need to do these 4 base items to do anything, to get any points in ACI, and it counts for 50% of your total ACI score. So if you haven't taken a second to answer the question, would just love to know if you have already successfully completed these for 2017. All right, we'll go to the performance, the rest of ACI. So the base makes up 50% of your score. The other 50% of your score is going to come from the performance categories. So these over here, these 7, and then there's bonuses available as well to make up the other 50% of your score for ACI. The biggest change here, for those of you who've been working on it during 2017, you'll notice that for 2017, there was one that was specific to immunization registries, and it was a 0 or 10%. So on our little circle over here, it's this one. And what they did is they changed the wording. So CMS actually took your feedback and said, you know, there's a lot of us out here who aren't doing immunizations, but we work with other public health agencies or clinical data registries. We do those things, and we're trying to work with them to get our information exchanged electronically, and so we're missing out on that performance, on that 10%, because we don't do it with immunizations. And so what they did is they changed the words. They reworded that part of the governmental regulation that is known as MIPS. They reworded it so that the performance, the first public health agency or clinical data registry that you're working with, you'll get 10% for working with them electronically. And then they changed the wording for the bonus. So this bonus used to be 5% for a syndromic surveillance or other public health agency. And now it is any additional public health agency or clinical data registry that you're working with. That is the 5%. So you can't use the same agency for getting the 10% here on the performance and 5% bonus. You have to have 2 different agencies that you're working with, but you will get that 5% bonus for any additional, for an additional, not any, an additional public health agency. They also have kept the bonus in ACI where you get points for reporting improvement activities using your EHR. So if you're using your EHR technology to help you with those improvement activities, there is a specific list of those found on the QPP website, CMS's QPP website. There is documentation there that says specific improvement activities that you can do to earn a bonus if you're using your EHR to do those activities. They have added a new bonus available now. If you are reporting using a certified 2015 health IT, to do that, you're using an ACI, you're doing your ACI reporting with a health IT that is certified for 2015, and you're only using that, then you have up to 10% bonus there. So 90 days is all that needed for ACI, so you could wait until, mid-year, end of year, start building those workflows now so that your numbers are high. If you look at the base being 50, all of these, if you add up all the numbers, you could have, if you did everything perfectly, you could have up to 165 points. They're going to cap you at 100. So looking at this, very possible for you to have a focus. In one of the CMS webinars I went to, they said that the reason why they've made this so large is so that you can really focus on the way that your practice is going to look at the way that you do your work now. You'll be able to choose the things that apply to your practice, specifically how you do what you do and how you're going to utilize your EHR to do it. And so that's why they gave so many different ways to earn your score. It really is possible for you to focus in on a few parts or focus in a little on everything. Totally depends on how you want to utilize your EHR, but you have a choice or a chance at earning up to 165 within the ACI category. So totally doable for you to get 100 or close to 100 points. All right, next to improvement activities. So with improvement activities, that is 15% of your final score in 2017 and 2018. It is at least 90 days. Look at the details for the specific improvement activities that you choose. There's 112 activities to choose from. So for 2018, there were 91, I think, in 2017. So a question to answer: have any of you already done improvement activities for 2017? If you did them, did you just do one to avoid a negative score, or are you going for the full 40 points with your improvement activities? What is it that you did for 2017 with your improvement activities? All right, so with improvement activities, most clinicians, you have high weight improvement activities or medium weight improvement activities. The high weights are worth 20 points each if you complete them, and the medium weight ones are worth 10 points each. Yay for smaller practices! Your points are doubled. So if you do one high weight, you get 40 points. And for each medium weight that you do, you get 20 points. And the improvement activity points maximum, they will cap it at 40. So for small practices, you could do one high weight improvement activity and get your complete score. So if you think about the scores for 2018, 15 points is needed to avoid a negative. So if you, as a small practice, participate and complete one high weight improvement activity, you've got your 15 points. So you can do this. You can totally do this. And that's not doing anything else anywhere else. So find those. And for those of you who are larger practices, get involved, make some decisions, do a couple of high weight or 4 medium weight. And for those larger practices, you probably have a little more staff that can help you to complete those. And that would just be looking at 4 things. And chances are, when you look at the list of 112 things, they're things that you are already doing. You may just need to change the way that you're documenting. You do want to make sure that you document well in case you're audited. You want to make sure that you're documenting well what you did when you're saying that you completed these. We are assuming that the attestation for this is still going to be kind of yes or no. Did you do this? Yes, I did. But if you're audited, you'll need to make sure that you have the documentation to back that up to show what you did. You attended this class, you did these things once you took the class, or whatever it is that you did. You're collecting this data, and this is what you've done with that data to improve. So just be aware. And again, be excited. If you're a small practice, your points are doubled. So they realize that it is harder with smaller staff to get some of these things done, and they are rewarding you for any efforts that you're making in that area. All right, we're going to move on. Cost is our 4th category. So again, it was looked at for 2017, but it was 0% of your score 2017. 2018, it is figured again on 12 months, and it is 10% of your final score. CMS will calculate this for you. You don't have to do anything. You're just going to turn in your claims like you've turned in your claims to Medicare before, which is why you get to participate in this lovely program. So the things that they take into account, they are looking at Medicare spending per beneficiary. They're figuring that out, and then they're figuring out the total per capita cost. They're taking these 2 groups of data, they're crunching the numbers, and then they're taking an average of those and giving you that as your final score for cost. The information that I've read says that these will be familiar to those of you who in the past participated in the physician value-based modifier program, and that there is really nothing for you to do. They are going to calculate it using the claims that you send to them, and that's what they're going to do. For 2017, there was also a series of 10 episode-based measures that they looked at in 2017 for the numbers that they're crunching there. They have not specified what those would be yet for 2018. Again, they're just going to take lots of the data that's sent in, they're going to crunch the numbers, and then you'll get feedback on how you did with your 2017 score. You'll get that mid-year. And so again, 2018, we're assuming it's going to be a similar process where you're going to turn in your data, they're going to crunch the numbers and let you know how you did. So that is the cost category. So exciting, the most exciting part to me anyway, was the bonuses that they're offering now in addition to your final score. So you're going to do those 4, and actually you're just going to do 3. You're going to turn in your claims for the cost, but you're going to do quality measures, you're going to do your ACI, you're going to do your improvement activities. And if you still don't have a score of 100, there's bonuses that they have created starting in 2018. So the bonuses that they've created, there is a small practice bonus. So again, small practice is those that are 15 clinicians or fewer. And just for participating, completing something in any of the categories, so doing 1 quality measure, doing your ACI base, doing 1 improvement activity, if you participate at all in any of the other categories, you will get a 5-point small practice bonus on top of what you've already done. Yay! Okay, that to me is just exciting because small practices, it's hard. And I like that they are listening to feedback and actually rewarding you guys for doing all that you do. The treatment of complex patients, it will be a sliding scale. They will look at all of the data that's turned in and then put you on a scale of whatever they do, and you'll be between 0 points and up to 5 points for the complexity of the patients that you treat. They're looking at specific diagnosis codes, specific conditions, combinations of conditions. They're also looking at the dual, where you're working for those that, looking at the patients who are dual eligible, which is, the Medimedis, the Medicare, Medicaid patients. They're taking a look at that as well. So they're crunching a bunch of different numbers into what they come up with there. For improvement, they are taking a look at how you did with your quality measures in 2017. And if you are attesting using the same NPI TIN combination in 2018 that you did in 2017, so you haven't changed the organizations that you're working with, you're working with the same number identifiers, turning in the same quality measures from 2017 to 2018, they're going to take a look and see, did you improve your numbers? Are you getting better in these quality measures? And if you are, you can earn up to 10 points of a bonus there. They're going to do the same thing with improvement in cost. They're going to take the numbers that they gathered in 2017. They're going to then take the numbers that they gather for what you do in 2018, and they'll put it on a sliding scale, and they will give you up to 1 point if you, I believe the term they used was significantly, statistically improve, then you'll be able to earn a percentage up to 1 point for improving in cost. So those are the categories. So to review the differences between, or the main highlights of 2018. So again, quality, 50% of your score, 6 measures, there's bonuses available, and it is 12 months. You need to get started with your quality measures in January. Why not start now? Why not? Get started at least by January so that you can make sure that you've got that data completeness happening for you. The data completeness really puts you into the ability to get 3 to 10 points for those quality measures. So if you are, get the credit for the work that you're doing. Get the credit for the work that you're doing. You're doing amazing things out there. Get the credit for it. Cost is 10% of your final score, 12 months, and CMS calculates it. So really not a lot you can do about it. At this point, you're going to just turn in your claims. That's what you're going to do to get your cost score. ACI, 25% of your final score. There's that required base 4 measures. And once you finish those required base measures, then there's 7 performance measures. There's the bonuses available that we talked about. And that, again, is only needed for 90 days this year. So you could do it during any 90 consecutive days that you want to. But I would advise to start building those good workflows into your practice now so that you can run the reports throughout the year and see how you do. And you could choose the best 90 days that you have. And if you're working toward improving, those will probably be more toward the end of the year. Improvement activities is 15% of your score. And that is anywhere between 1 and 4 activities, depending on the size of your practice and the weight of the improvement activity that you choose. So those are the 4 categories, and this year there are bonuses available on top of the scores that you have for your 4 quality measure, your MIPS categories. Sorry. And there are the additional bonuses. There's the 5 points for small practices. There's up to 5 points for treatment of complex patients, up to 10 points for improvement in quality, and up to 1 point for improvement in cost. And the reason why we're doing all of this is, how is it going to impact us? How is it going to impact our payments? So your performance year is 2018. It affects your payments in 2020. And if you, in 2018, do absolutely nothing, you will have a -5 payment adjustment. And depending on how much you do, anywhere between 0 and 14, you'll be between -5 up to 0. At 15 points, you are neutral. You are 0. If you get 16 to 69 points in your MIPS final score for 2018, you will get up to 5%. And then if you are really one who excels and gets 70 or more points, then you will have the opportunity. You'll have plus 5%, and then they also have in the budget money to give you a bonus 0.5%. So it is totally possible for you to do this. So looking at this, I want you to think about what we could do. So I'm going to give you some suggestions of some things that you could do to avoid the negative. As we talked about with the improvement activity, it's 15%. If you get the full 40 points by doing 1 to 4 activities, here, that's 15 points towards your final score, which is neutral. Yay, you've done it. For ACI, you would need to do your base, which is 50%. So 50% of 25%, that's 12.5 points. So you would need probably another 10%, 10 points out of the possible 165. You would need to earn your base score plus another few points to get that 15 points for your final score. So you could focus completely on improvement activities and be good. You could focus completely on ACI, do nothing else, and as long as you get your base plus a little bit more, you could get your 15 points. For quality measures, you would need to get 30% of your possible points there. So you could do 5 quality measures, and if we assume that they are data complete, then you'd get 3 points for each of those, and that's 15 points. Lots of possibilities. Or you could do a combination of any of those. So hopefully you're starting to see that the 15 points is not as scary as maybe you thought it was, and that most of you, if you try even just a little bit in quality, a little bit in improvement, a little bit in ACI, and qualify for a bonus, maybe as a small practice, you will be able to get most likely into this category of the 16 to 69 points. I'm hoping that this is where you're going to try. Would love if you are the kind of clients that go for this. If you're the kind of users who go for the 70 plus points, yay, that's fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. So that is the highlights, and I want you to know that you can do this. You can totally do this. It's not scary. We've got resources for you, and that's where we're going to go next. So to end, before we go to our Q&A, we've got CMS, the source of all truth for MIPS MACRA program. You've got your QPP website. If you do not have this yet as a favorite, while you're here, before you turn off your computer after watching the webinar, please set up a favorite for the QPP website, https://qpp.cms.gov. And that is the resource. That's where you can put in your NPI, know if you're supposed to participate, if you get to participate in this lovely program. There's also the QPP resource library, where you can get all the details about the specific, it'll give you the specifications for the quality measures. If you're choosing specific quality measures, it'll let you know all of the details about it, why they want this as a quality measure, what the different things are that the data you're supposed to be capturing. All of those details can be found in the QPP resource library. There are also, as part of the budget, they have specific help in the QPP resource library for small practices. There are specific organizations that are being paid to help you. Whether you utilize them or not, they are being paid to help you. So please utilize the QPP resource library go in there and look through the resources for small practices if you have 15 or less clinicians in your practice. AdvancedMD, we have tons of resources available that we've gone through the CMS, which isn't always happily in understandable English. We've taken those resources from QPP, studied them, tested them out, all of those fun things, and we have tons of resources available on Nest. Go to Nest, which is our user community, our place where we put resources, and we've got a product resources section, MACRA MIPS. We have our overviews, our step-by-step guides, we have webinars, video trainings. We've got lots and lots of help for you in Nest. And then we also have our AdvancedMD professional services. I'm a member of that team, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned, because I love these people so much. We do a lot and help a lot of people with meeting MIPS and help to dispel the confusion that some of you may still be having. But we have a consulting team, and we provide everything from just meeting with you, consulting, giving you homework, making sure you're doing what you need to, and then we also offer up to comprehensive monitoring, where we're sending you reports every month and saying, hey, gosh, these numbers are great, and you could probably do this and this and this to improve these numbers. So you are not alone. You have resources available to you. So a couple more questions I would like for you to answer for me is, we're planning future webinars. So I would like to know if you could please send in what MIPS topics would be most helpful to you in our future webinar. We are planning one in the next 6 to 8 weeks that'll cover attestation. So taking the information that you've gathered in 2017 and how you're going to be able to turn that in easily for 2018. So that'll be our next one that we know of. But please let me know if there's specific MIPS topics that would be helpful to you for future webinars. So if you could send that in, that would be incredibly helpful to our team as we're looking at the topics that would be most helpful to you. And then also, a second question that I have for you, is there anything that you were hoping would be covered in today's webinar that wasn't covered in today's webinar? So is there a burning question that you had that you were really hoping that we would give you details on that we didn't cover today? And that will help us know if we have a lot of those kind of questions that will, maybe have another webinar that we would be able to give you with those answers. Thank you so much for attending today.